Hello, and welcome to our video about risk in project management. We will go through common sources of risk, how to properly define risk by identifying, categorizing, and analyzing it, and we'll finish by looking at risk treatment strategies. Common sources of risk include cost, schedule, resource, and scope. All these aspects should be carefully considered during the planning stage to avoid a catastrophe. A poorly planned project is very likely to run over time and over budget, may not use its resources effectively, and will be vulnerable to scope creep. In the worst case scenario, problems arising in these areas may even lead to project termination. Projects are inherently risky, full of uncertainty and unknowns. Identifying project-specific risks becomes critical for the success of a project. Knowing what our risks are helps to minimize any negative impacts and maximizes our ability to take advantage of opportunities. Identifying risks improves chances of project success. There are many ways to identify risks, including brainstorming, checklists, expert opinions, and reviews. It's important to find as many risks as possible. You need to use general knowledge, common sense, and get your stakeholders involved. Any approach you choose needs to be comprehensive. Risk categorization is a thorough approach for identifying project risks. Categorizing risks sorts them into different areas, helping to identify root causes and showing where a project is most exposed. A common way of categorizing risks is into internal risks within the control of the organization, external risks outside your control, such as politics or the environment, technical risks, and risks relating to your commercial obligations. A risk breakdown structure helps to organize risks clearly and break them down into their underlying causes. Each risk identified can be further broken down into manageable chunks. It also shows which areas of the project are the most vulnerable or carrying the most risk. After we've comprehensively identified our project risks, we need to analyze them. We do this by deciding the likelihood of the risk happening and the impact of the risk if it were to happen. The easiest way to do this is by using a risk assessment matrix. This allows us to quickly combine the likelihood and the severity to create a risk impact score. This process identifies which risks we should prioritize for the biggest impact. Once we have defined our risks, we need to think about risk controls. These are the actions we plan to take to reduce or eliminate risk. In general, we first aim to avoid the risk altogether. Usually this is not possible, so we can instead try and change the probability of it happening or reduce the severity if it does happen. Other strategies include sharing the impact of the risk or doing nothing about it at all. The hierarchy of control for managing workplace safety risks is a good example. First, we try to design out or eliminate the risk. If this isn't possible, we try to substitute it out. If that's not possible, we separate people from it. Then we try administrative controls such as training and scheduling, and as a last resort, giving people personal protective equipment to protect them when they encounter the risk. Don't forget, if you haven't made a risk management plan, you haven't controlled the risk.